What I'm going to be doing for you today is a one length bob. It's a basic one length bob with a fringe. And what we're going to be doing today is working with quite a heavy fringe through here, which is really going to suit Lauren. So with the technique and the shape that I'm going to be doing on Lauren's hair is the shape is going to sit very, very strong through here. Now, the reason why I'm doing the shape at this length is because of the bone structure. It's going to sit really well on Lauren. The other thing is that it's going to make the neck look very slim and very strong. That's the idea behind the shape. Now, to achieve this, the technique that I'm going to be using is I'm going to be using tension. Now, I'm going to be using the large teeth to section the hair. I'm going to be using the small teeth to cut the hair. This is going to put graduation on the hair. This is going to reinforce the shape and make the hair expand. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is that Lauren's got very thick, very strong hair. You have to be very careful on the technique you choose. If we don't use tension here, it's actually going to go a little bit baggy. So by using tension on Lauren's hair to cut the shape, it's going to give us a lot more strength. It's going to give a very, very strong outline. It's just going to be more precise. Also makes the shape a little bit more versatile on how you dress the hair. So with the basic bob, you have to pay attention to the hairline. That is very, very important. You need to look at how the hair's growing and how it's reacting. And luckily, Lauren has got very, very soft hair, so the hairline is not really going to affect us greatly. And also with working with tension on here, we're going to be able to control it and put a stronger shape within there. Now, as the shape works through towards the front, we need to pay attention to the jawline. We need to be working to complement a person's features. Also, when we come around to the fringe needs to sit in there to complement the features again. So you need to be working around the eye socket or working with the cheekbones. You need to be working with a person's features to make the whole thing look very striking. So one thing that I always do to see how a fringe suits somebody is with using a mirror. I either place my comb there to have a look and how it's going to affect the face and how it changes the face with different lengths. And when the hair's wet, we sometimes comb the hair down and have a proper look at how the hair is going to affect the face and how it's going to change the face. So by doing this, it gives you a little bit of an idea on the type of shape that you need to put into the fringe. Also, how far you need to take it back, whether you want to take it back a long way or you want to just do a very little peekaboo sort of fringe through here. So this is a basic one length bob above the shoulders, cut using tension. So this is the sectioning pattern I'm going to use today. Now, there's reasons for certain areas of it being sectioned off. The first section in the front is this triangle. Obviously that is going to be the fringe. The hair that is below this line is actually the first part of the haircut, starting in the back, ending in the front. The section on the top here in the crown area, this is sectioned out in a circle because this is going to be done at a later stage of when we're finishing the haircut, and we're going to be maybe doing this dry or when the hair is damp. That allows for any defects and any growth patterns on the crown area. This is a technique we used to use many years ago and it's still evident today. It's a great technique to use. So we have the crown section, which is a circle, front section, which is the fringe, and that's triangular in shape. Now these two pieces in here, one on either side, these are just to make it a nice even line through here. So when we're cutting the shape in, we get a really good equal balance on both sides. Lauren's got a very strong growth in these areas, but hopefully, and I think with a bit of planning, this fringe will sit quite cool, a bit heavier. So I'm thinking around about these sort of areas of length, but I won't know the exact length until I drop the fringe down and have a true look at it, but these are the areas I'm thinking of, so that's the objective. If you have a plan, you have to allow for any defects or any faults that come about and adjust your technique to deal with them. So this will be my first section. As you can see, it's slightly larger than I would normally take. The reason for this is because of the hairline. You can see how the hair grows through here, how it jumps that little bit. If I take a very, very fine section, I'm not going to be able to see my line and control this because the hair will jump too much. By taking a slightly larger section, I can then control and see my line a little bit more clearly. It just helps and aids you in cutting the shape.
Please note, although Stacey will work through the back in parallel sections, he chooses to section the back in 2 halves for ease and symmetry. He will be working up the head with parallel sections. You will see later that once Stacey reaches the ear, he will follow the section into the front hairline. Starting in the nape, using a slightly curved horizontal section, Stacey cuts a square line with tension. He starts in the centre and works out on both sides. Please note that Stacey chooses a fairly large initial section to establish weight in his outline. Stacey continues with parallel sections up the head with the same tension and using his previous section as a guide. Please notice the head is tilted slightly. This allows Stacey to cut his line with accuracy. Please notice with the head tilted, it is important to follow the square line in relation to the angle of the head. After cutting his line, Stacey combs the hair and assesses his shape aesthetically. Please note, Stacey constantly checks and cleans his line. Once Stacey has reached the top of the ear, he checks his weight and balance visually. Stacey then continues his parallel sections into the front hairline with the same tension and using his previous section as a guide. Please note that Stacey cuts the entire back section before progressing into his first side area. His initial side section will be cut quite large in order to establish weight in the outline. This is dependent on hair quality. Stacey uses his scissors to pick up and lay the hair over the ear, tapping the bottom of the ear before cutting to allow for protrusion. Please note, Stacey is careful to maintain his chosen square outline. Stacey then repeats this process on the second side. Next, Stacey checks his balance visually and technically. Stacey continues with this process on both sides until he reaches his initial sections. Please note, when Stacey checks his line, there is a small corner that allows for the ear protrusion, which must not be cut off. Stacey next works with his 2 triangle sections, either side of the parting. He works with parallel sections and cuts a square line with the same degree of tension and using his previous section as a guide. Please note that Stacey chooses to complete one side, then the other. Next, Stacey checks his balance visually and technically. Stacey brings down the fringe area. He uses a curved horizontal section, using the bridge of the nose and the corner of the temple as a guide. Please note, Stacey contains the hair in his comb as he cuts. Stacey then continues with parallel sections throughout the triangular fringe area. Note, he cuts through the comb and then he cleans with his fingers. Stacy then brings down his circular section in the crown and dries the hair, working from the parameters through the back, and then the outlines in the side, then the fringe, and finally the top. Next, Stacy irons the hair to create a finish using the silver range of Coriolis C2s. Once the hair is dried, he then checks and cleans his graduation throughout. Next, Stacy checks his fringe and then point cuts the remaining crown area, using the underneath as a guide. Stacey then rechecks with his model standing. He then checks and cleans his graduation throughout using a mirror.
My finished look, one length bob, and you can see it's a very, very strong shape. It's a very strong discipline to master, is this shape. It's something which will benefit you in many years to come if you master these sort of techniques. This is the one length bob, which is a true discipline.
The result, a balanced, bespoke, one length defined shape.